Hi, my name is Matthew Anguiano, and today I'll be presenting our research on differences in behavior response to social evaluative threat among youth with and without autism. This work was done by Dr. Muscatello, Dr. Schwartzman, Dr. Corbett, and myself as part of a greater study that's examining adolescents with autism and adolescents with typical development, or TD. In the DSM-5, one of the central diagnostic areas for autism spectrum disorder, also known as ASD, are social deficits. Unfortunately, many individuals with autism experience more psychological and physiological stress because of social situations relative to typically developing individuals. Social deficits can beget stress in people with ASD, which can then manifest as displacement behaviors. Displacement behaviors are defined as behaviors associated with the psychological experience of stress. One example of a stressful situation is with a social evaluative threat. In these situations, youth with autism have been shown to have atypical response, including a blunted physiological stress response. With these previous points in mind, it was hypothesized that youth with autism would demonstrate fewer displacement behaviors. Regarding social engagement, it was also hypothesized that youth with autism would be less socially engaged with the task at hand in a standardized social evaluative threat paradigm. In our study, there were 208 participants, 118 of whom had autism spectrum disorder, and the remaining 90 had typical development. The age range for our participants were from 10 to 13 years old. In our study, the Trier social stress test was used. This is a 20-minute long protocol where the participant is put in front of two judges with neutral affect who give the participant instructions to give a speech and then perform serial subtraction aloud. These interactions were recorded so that they could later be coded for behaviors. Displacement behaviors were coded as lip presses or bites, face contacts, fidgeting, and fumbling. The frequency of each behavior was calculated. To track the amount of engagement with the task of the Trier social stress test, we coded the percentage of time each participant was either on topic or silent during the protocol. Getting to the statistical analyses of the study, we conducted independent t-tests between the ASD group and the TD group for each of the 4 displacement behaviors. To test for verbal engagement, we also conducted independent t-tests between the ASD and TD groups for both codes. Independent t-tests showed that the ASD group of youth had a significantly lower frequency of lip presses and a higher frequency of face contacts compared to the TD group for the speech section of the Trier social stress test. And these results are visualized by the figure 1. For the math section, the ASD group demonstrated increased frequency for face contacts. All other behaviors did not differ significantly. For task engagement, the ASD group had a significantly higher percentage of time spent silent and a lower percentage of time spent on topic during the task than the TD group did. This was true in both speech and math sections. Our results show that there are certainly a few differences in frequency of certain displacement behaviors between diagnostic groups. Findings were largely consistent with previous research from our lab, albeit in a larger study sample. Results suggest that people with autism have a unique response to social stressors. Regarding limiting factors, the main limitation of our study was that we did not investigate the role of demographic differences, such as sex, age, IQ, and stress response. Using our research as context, future studies should look at the behavioral responses of youth with ASD in other social situations, such as a friendly conversation. Additionally, previous research in the lab has demonstrated developmental effects for physiological response. Therefore, future studies should investigate whether similar effects of puberty are observed for behavior. Finally, examination of the relation between physiological response and behavior is warranted. Now that wraps it up for our presentation. Thank you so much for watching.